And now to that awful case that we've been following out of Florida. One teenager slowly recovering from brain damage, another behind bars charged with trying to kill her. It was all over some text messages, and now we know exactly what they said to each other. The story from NBC's Michelle Kaczynski.
What's your favorite class?
Probably Japanese.
At 15, Wayne Treacy has seen his father go to prison, his older brother commit suicide.
When he died, I went through the grieving thing and stuff.
But Wayne was a good student, well-liked, on the right path, until one March day. He admits he beat and kicked 8th grader Josie Ratley over text messages while he was trying to reach her friend.
I remember she said something about my dead brother, and that really set me off.
Now his lawyer has released those texts. Josie calls Wayne a rapist repeatedly for liking a 13-year-old girl. It escalates. "I will find you. I will mess you up," Wayne types. He insults Josie's father, not knowing he's actually dead. Josie responds, "Just go visit your dead brother." And from Wayne, "You're dead. I swear to God I'm going to kill you." Josie types, "You make me giggle." But he texts other friends, telling them, too, he intends to kill Josie Ratley, snap her neck and stomp her skull. Police say he put on steel-toed boots, rode his bike 3 miles, and stomped and kicked Josie nearly to death.
Usually when I get angry, it just goes away because I can just vent and stuff, but I don't know, I couldn't get the feeling to subside.
Wayne Treacy sounds almost nonchalant about what led up to this, although later he breaks down. His attorney says here was a traumatized boy who kept everything bottled up until that day.
He's pled not guilty to attempted murder, intending to show, though nearly 3 hours passed between those texts and that attack, that he simply snapped. Well, today, Josie, after brain surgeries, must learn again to walk and speak. For today, Michelle Kaczynski, NBC News, Miami.
Russell Williams is Wayne Treacy's attorney, and Michael Brannon is the court-appointed psychologist who evaluated him. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Mr. Brannon, if I can start with you, Wayne Treacy has been charged as an adult with attempted first-degree murder. He has been portrayed as a cold-blooded, violent kid. You spent some 20 hours with him evaluating him. What was your impression of him?
He's a very sad kid. That's the first impression that you have. He's very tearful. He's very remorseful. He can't understand how he could possibly do something like this. So whenever the incident is discussed, he is very, very tearful. It's hard to get him through any discussion about this actual event. It's almost like he speaks about it as if somebody else had conducted this behavior.
And yet, as Michelle pointed out, he seems so calm on the police video in his confession.
Well, only on the piece that you saw. Right before that, he's crying, and right after it, he cries. And he's especially tearful and sobbing when his mother comes into the room. There's a very emotional exchange. And that's the way I've usually seen him, is that young man who's crying and feels so badly about what happened.
So what is your diagnosis, doctor? Do you think that he snapped?
I do think he snapped in kind of a non-clinical way. In a clinical way, he has post-traumatic stress disorder, and he has an earlier diagnosis of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. As a matter of fact, at the age of 4, it was recommended to his mother that he be placed on medication, stimulant medication called Ritalin, in order to help him with his hyperactivity. At this particular point in time, he was overwhelmed with emotions about his brother, who he found hanging from a tree along with his mother. He never resolved that, never dealt with that, and one of the things that became triggered in this whole incident with Josie, the victim, the unfortunate victim in this case, is those exact feelings that were being suppressed and pushed down.
Well, let me ask you, Mr. Williams, because if the trial were held today, I understand that you would argue that he'd be not held accountable by reason of insanity, but if you just look at the transcript of the text messages, it appears that he threatened her even before she brought up his dead brother, which I would assume would have triggered this immense anger in him. And then he waited several hours before he went to the school. He texted friends to say he was going to go get her. And then, as we pointed out earlier in the confession, at times he seemed very calm. That doesn't sound like somebody who snapped.
Well, you have to go way back with him. First of all, Josie, is calling him a rapist, and he knew several girls that had been raped before. So that was the start. Then the conversation or the text messaging deteriorated from that point forward. And then you get to the point where he just just gets overwhelmed or overcome with his emotions, and he actually, in what I term sending out flares, he sends out flares to 3 of his friends, tells them what he's going to do. Nobody says anything. Nobody calls the police. Nobody calls his mom. Nobody calls the school. Said something to Josie, and she text messages back, "Hey, you make me giggle." She doesn't go to anybody in the school. So he's saying each one of those people is like, "Stop me, stop me, stop me. I need help, I need help, I need help," and it just never happens. And as Dr. Brannon had points out, the ride, the 3 hours in between that time and the ride over to school, the 3 miles to the school, he was not thinking about those text messages. He was thinking about defending his brother, seeing his brother hanging from the tree. And at that point, it was, he had a script played out in his head, and he just couldn't get back to where he needed to be.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Brannon, we're going to have to leave it at that. Obviously, your psychological evaluation will go to the judge now. Thank you both, sir, for your help this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.